Racing this Thursday, the 8th of June, is at the Vaal Classic track where there's 8 races carded. And race number 1 is at 12:20. It's a juvenile plate over 1,450 meters, which kicks off the bar pot. As always, Alistair Cohen joining us for this preview show for Thursday. And Alistair, how does the card look, But? And how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you, Dees. Everything's good. I'm glad that after the studio maintenance that everything's back on track. With regards to this card, I must be honest, Tuesday was a horrible day. And I obviously went through this card before Tuesday's meeting, and I thought this card was even trickier. Certainly some races. So I hope that we can find a little bit of form going into the weekend through this card. There's some nice races and some useful horses that are going around, but I think that certainly the second half of the card looks very, very open.
Well, talking about form, in race number 1 that does kick off the bar pot, where at the time of recording 9 runners go to post. Let's give you the betting. Number 2, 5-1. Number 3, 5-1. Number 4 at 3-1. 5 at 8-1. 6 is a 7-2 shot. 7 at 11-2. And 9 is at 9-2. I mentioned form because there's some strong form lines in this field represented by a few runners. But arguably the strongest form line comes from number 9, which is Canford Rose.
Yeah, because of course Soldier's Eye came out and Frank's her own form. The second horse, Mike de Kock's horse, that was very unlucky not to win on that occasion. So that all looks good. Canford Rose ran exactly how Candice Dawson thought she'd run on debut, thought that she'd need it, she'd run on nicely and come on with the run, and that's exactly what's happened. I'm just going through that. Soldier's Eye won, Miss Red Hot Rose won, Miss Shivey won, Batsula came out and won as well. So that is the level of form that Canford Rose potentially ran to. It might just be a run soon. I think she'll run a big race. I think she'll be bang there. And she's definitely got a classic look. When she's running as a 3-year-old thing, the extra said that she could be a real contender when she goes that type of distance. But I expect her to be in the first 3. I'll make the horse to beat, though, number 6, the Front Line. Go and watch his debut run. He stayed on very strongly from the worst of the draws on the Turfentine inside track. Gavin Lorena now takes over. I think the long-striding Vaal Classic track will also suit them. And then just a little heads up about that piece of form as well, that the Front Line ran in behind Prince of Green. They've been winners out of that as well, and those winners include White Pearl and Just Vaal, horses who look very useful indeed. So I think that the Front Line might make the sufficient improvement in time from number 9 Canford Rose. I think that the 2 of them will be in the first 3, and then watch the betting on numbers 3 and 4. Majestic Touch found unbelievable support on debut and didn't raise a gallop, and then a very well-bred Jordan, number 3, who I expect to only be a racehorse over further, but as we know, Terry gets them ready first time out if they're good enough, so expect those 2 to go okay if the market suggests they will.
Yeah, just a betting update. As you mentioned, what's the betting on number 4? Well, Hollywoodbets Anti-Post, one of the 2 runners that have been supported anti-post throughout the card, comes up in race number 1, and it's horse number 4, Majestic Touch. They've backed that from 4-1 into 3-1. So they're following up on their debut where the horse was backed and backed properly. But 9 gets a mention, and Alistair thinks horse number 6 could be the right horse in race number 1, where they are betting 3-1 the field. Onto the place accumulator, race number 2. It's over 1,450 meters. This is a juvenile plate for fillies. The betting, single figure horses. Number 1 is at 7-1. 3 at 5-1. 4 is a 33-10 shot. 5 at 4-1. 9 is at 7-1. And 11 Woodland Glade is at 7-2. The first scratching comes up, and it's number 12 that will take no part. I like the look of Mike de Kock's runner here, number 11, Woodland Glade, as a possible banker in the place accumulator, especially after the scratching of number 12. But it's still tight, very tight, 33-10 the field here, Alistair.
I've gone 2 horses in the place accumulator, D's, and I think that I'll double up here. Number 11, Woodland Glade, is my top choice. Her debut was I don't know better than her second start because she finished slightly closer. She just didn't find the kick that I think was expected of her. But I think she's still a little bit wet behind the ears, so that run will probably bring her along nicely. I spoke to Michael before her debut. I was on the parade ring with him, and he said she's a nice filly. She finishes off her work very nicely, suggesting that she'll mature into a useful 3-year-old. I think he was a little bit disappointed that she didn't win her last start. Alas, it wasn't awful. So I think that coming to the Vaal, she'll be a better horse, enjoying the galloping nature of the track. The other half sister to the very well performed Waterbury Lane and Shantastic, who of course runs on the Tibashima this weekend. And then number 4, Lady Fallon. She's got to be a backup here because her debut was very good behind Dolcezza. There was tons of support for her. We saw the Dolcezza form franked by no filter at the Vaal on Tuesday, so that all looks good. And also this horse, Lady Fallon, found her feet right at the end, suggesting that next time out she'll be a one to watch. Watch out in the market for number 3, Ivy League. Just check her out. If there's any money for her going over and at a distance, then she could be quite interesting. Likewise, number 5, Let's Go Now, who is the full sister to Bless My Stars, who runs on Sunday on Jubilee Stakes Day. But they'll be hard-pressed to win this race. They might be able to get into the places, but I think 4 and 11 will suffice, with my top choice being number 11, Woodland Glade.
11 to beat 4. 2 runners in the place accumulator. On to race number 3, 13:30. Get your bets on by 1:30. It's over 1,600 meters, and this is a maiden plate. Now, number 1 is at 8 to 10. Then we have to go down to the runner that, that's number 9 at 4 to 1, 10 at 7 to 2. And then the second of the 2 runners that have been supported anti-post comes in this race, and it's number 12, We Are the Logans. Opened up 16 to 10, and the guys thought that was a bit generous, 16 to 10. They backed that to 13 to 10, Alistair. Is he the right horse in the race? Now he's got the experience, and I say experience, even distance-wise, as they've stepped him up. He seems to be getting better length-wise.
He's my banker in the place accumulator. In the pick 6, I'd probably include number 10, Pied Kingfisher, but I think number 12, We Are the Logans, is coming along the right way. His debut was okay when he ran into a bit of trouble, but his 2 runs since have kept him in good stead. He ran an open company in the second start, finishing 3rd to Pontiac. Pontiac ran a lovely race post-maiden, finishing a low-flying second at the Vaal a couple of weeks ago. And then last time behind William Iron Army, just stuck around. He didn't give up the fight. I think there were nice horses. In fact, I know there were nice horses in and around number 12, We Are the Logan. So I think that he's making the sufficient improvement in time, and I think he'll take all the beating from a bang-in form yard. This is the half-brother to Way of the World, who of course was trained by Paul Peter. She earned some black type. I think she won the Syringa handicap, and maybe another feature during the autumn season, if I remember correctly. But I think number 12, We Are the Logans, are going to take all the beating. It does look like a shallow field. The other 2-year-olds might have some sort of claims, but if you look at the older horses, when you try and make a case for a horse like Archimedes, who seems to have regressed rather than progressed, I think you're running into a little bit of trouble here. So I think the improvement of the 2-year-olds is something to take seriously. And as you mentioned, I think the improvements of number 12, We Are the Logans, are just the most striking feature in the race. So banker in the bar pot, banker in the place accumulator, but I would include De Cock's Pied Kingfisher in the pick 6.
Well, the form is clear to see. The betting says it all, and when there's confidence coming through from Alistair Cohen, I think that I'm now going to actually back to this and everything. I like the talk coming from Alistair, and it's clear to see that in black and white, he looks like a horse that's ready to win. On to race number 4, 1,600 meters, merit-rated 104 handicap. It's an A division class, quality to speak about here. Let's have a look at the horses in single figures. 1, Vanderbilt, 9 to 2. 2, Profit at 8 to 1. We move along to 3, Ocean Warrior at 7 to 1. 4, Duke of Sussex at 4 to 1. 5, Ndlamu at 7 to 2. And then Diesel and Dust, number 7 at 6 to 1. And Sister Light at 5 to 1. Just a form update before we go to Alistair's assessment of the race. Vanderbilt raced over the weekend at Hollywoodbets Scottsville. I thought against that type of field, having done the traveling, etc., it was a commendable performance from him. He ran 5th, 2.8 lengths behind the smashing-looking Silvanos Dasher from the Brett Crawford stable. What you make of race number 4, Ali?
I'm casting my net wide here, Dees. There are a lot of cases to be made. I've left Vanderpool's out of my place accumulator, but I won't be foolish in the pick six and jackpot. It wouldn't be the first time that Tony Peets has done the unthinkable in the space of a few days, travelling down to KZN, running a nice race, and then coming back home and winning. So number one, Vanderbilt deserves a mention. But my numbers on the place accumulator, which is my suggested bet, are 4, 5, and 6. Now, number 4, Duke of Sussex is an absolute homeboy. When he travels away from the Vaal, he's moderate, but at home, at the Vaal, he's a good horse. Had a chat to Lucky Hoodalakis after his last run where I made him a good thing. And he was happy, but also a little bit. He was fair to middling with the run. He was happy with the run from Duke of Sussex, finishing fourth behind Running Rifles, because he said he missed an important workout just before the race. But he also said, to have that type of record at the Vaal where everyone expects him to run well and he run fourth, it's a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow. So I think Lucky was more happy than upset, but still he wanted a little bit more from number 4, Duke of Sussex. The fact he was beaten a quarter of a length, I suppose you can't cry too much. And in retrospect, if he did miss an important workout, like he stated, then there was nothing wrong with the run from number 4, Duke of Sussex. I just love the horse of the Vaal. I think that he's just a far better horse there. Number 5, Ndlamo, interestingly, runs in the Jubilee Stakes on Sunday. So just check whether Ndlamo is going to take his place on Thursday at the Vaal. Be interesting to see which direction Terry takes, because I'd say that he's got a good winning chance on Thursday, and I'd say that he's got, and I'm being generous, an outside chance on the Jubilee handicap on Sunday. So it will be interesting to see which direction Terry takes on number 5, Ndlamo. But in the cold light of day, he's got to be a chance. And a horse that I've been watching for a while and I think is going to come and run a big race here, number 6, Argo Alley. I don't believe he stayed 1,800 metres last time. He actually moved up to a point in the final 200. He got a bit weary. The ratings dropped from a high 105 down to a 99, so he's come down another £3 since his last run. I think over a better distance from a yard that's now starting to click, especially with Kamalo in the irons. The value in the race is undoubtedly number 6, Argo Alley.
Well, I haven't even taken out the betting on that one, Alistair. That obviously is in double figures. So 4, and keep an eye on where Ndlamo elects to run. And then horse number 6, Argo Alley. That is the roughie in the race, and that could be a nice one, especially if that comes through for the pick 6 or the jackpot. Jackpot 1 begins here in race number 4 at 14.05. Race number 5 is over 1,600 meters. It's a merit-rated 88 handicap, and this is the way they're betting. Number 1, Tizona at 4-1. 3, Spin Doctor at 6-1. 6, Turpitz at 4-1. 8, Tamarisk Tree. Now, there's a runner I like. That's at 8-1. 9, Lord Vares, who I went for last time out, and what a win with Rachel Vinegar. That's at 5-1. And then number 12, Mo the Man. I got a very interesting question for Alistair when I come to that horse. But firstly, I think, you were speaking about Tony Peter and traveling horses and not shy to run them as soon as he does. And he can often, get them to win. There's a horse in point, Tizona, who had a win within the space of how many days, Alistair? 23rd to the 20th. That was like, we'll call it 3 days. But with the traveling, etc., I mean, 2 of those days would have been in the float.
Correct. He basically drove from Hollywoodbets Greyville to the Vaal. That was something you don't see often, and the way that he took off was so encouraging. He gave the impression that he's still a cut above the handicap. He got £7, probably justifiably so. But it's hard to ignore his chances because he's 2 from 2 in Joburg. And to be fair, his run on the 22nd of April in Hollywoodbets Greyville, he was particularly unlucky not to get a lot closer to Lord Wiley. So number 1, Tizona, probably the most reliable option in the race. So he's there. This is where the meeting opens up, by the way. Number 3, Spin Doctor. I'm a big fan of his last run after a lengthy break was pleasing behind Running Rifles. He was also unlucky not to finish closer. That was when Lucky Hoodalakis' yard was absolutely firing. It's not like the yards hit a bit of a flat spot, but a month ago everything of Lucky's was winning, and now everything of Lucky's is competing to win, but running nice races in the places. So number 3, Spin Doctor, I believe will go well because that last one's got to stand him in good stead. And then my backup is number 6, Turpitz, who was meritorious when winning on the poly track at Hollywoodbets Greyville on WSB Guineas Day. Captain Rocket obviously came out and thanked the form, but Turpin's really put him in his place. Crawford was very unlucky not to walk away with a treble at the Vaal on Tuesday, and Matsanyani as well. So I think number 6, Turpin, has every opportunity of backing that up. So in a wide open race, 1, 3, and 6 are the horses that I'm revolving around, but there are a lot that need to go in, because I think number 2, Baysier, 5, Nordic Rebel, 8 Tamara's Tree is just a head scratcher for me, because I think that there's something there, but he's just not quite putting it in. I'm not going to let him run loose in the pick 6. Lord Varies, as you mentioned, and then also number 12, Mo the Man. I'm interested to know what question you have for number 12, Mo the Man.
Yeah, just that, I looked at his rating, and I had a look at the horses that he's been beating, and of course, the average ratings in those fields. Could he be higher than a 77, Alistair? Because if you think that, carrying 53 kgs here, this is the type of horse that wouldn't surprise me to go back to back, because he's taken a bit of time just to gain confidence and learn what the game is about, and he's been running solid races in the maiden ranks, and if the handicapper's got his mark wrong, with 53 kgs, he's the type of horse that could be right there.
So while you were asking that question, I called up the information of Free Movement, the horse he beat by half a length.
Look at that penultimate start. That penultimate start as well. That penultimate start as well, Alistair. The form lines of this horse.
Yeah, that Bob's Your Uncle obviously came out and won the handicap the next starts, and he's maintained a very consistent level of form. So yeah, I think Bob's Your Uncle is probably a better case study than Free Movement. Free Movement's rated 76, was beaten half a length. So if the handicap is right with Mo the Man, he's right with Free Movement. But if he's right with Bob's Your Uncle, he's wrong with Mo the Man.
Correct.
Bob's Your Uncle is now an 85. So I see the angle that you're coming from. And I think the biggest point to make here, and I expect him to plus half, but the fact that Keegan DeMillo's accepted the ride at 53, that's also got to be some food for thought, because I spoke to Keegan in the parade ring. It wasn't at the Vaal on Tuesday, but it was at Turfentine a week ago, and he rode a horse at 54, and he said, it's, if it's not a group race, it's hard for me to get down these days. So, he's obviously very loyal to the Werners and loyal to Johan Janse van Vuren, so he'll make the effort. But the fact that he's taken the ride on a horse fresh out the maidens, I think that's got to be some sort of angle to look at here, Dees.
Yeah, I think, it's tough. We know that. We repeatedly say that is the first acid test in your career out the maidens. Let's see how number 12, Mo the Man, goes. I just thought he deserved some airtime here. Race number 6,000 meters, merit rated 82 handicap, and this is the way they're betting. Number 1, Captain Dizzy at 33 to 10. Number 7, Stormy Seas at 7 to 1. Number 8, Successful Secret at 8 to 1. 10, Axel Collins at 7 to 2. 11, COVID Operator at 7 to 2. And maybe a different question this time around, Alistair, because Hollywoodbets are firmly part of Gallop TV, and they host the most fantastic and popular competition for racing fans throughout the country, throughout the world, because they have their competition in Hong Kong and Singapore as well. It's a daily prize of 2,000 and an all-or-nothing prize multiplied by the number of horses times 10,000. If you do play the bet slip of 50 Rand, they'll multiply the daily prize and they will multiply the all-or-nothing prize. I say this because there are different strategies on playing the Hollywoodbets Punters Challenge, and this could be one of those races where your strategy comes in. If you had to single out a horse for Alistair Cohen in the Hollywoodbets Punters Challenge competition, which horse would it be?
It would have to be Axel Collins here, Dees. I've gone 1 and 10 in my place accumulator, but with regards to the Hollywoodbets Punters Challenge, I mean, that is so much fun. I love the banter that we've had for the last 2.5 months, all presenters and commentators and media men around the country. It's been a wonderful initiative, and I love the way that everyone from all corners of the country have been brought together and singing on the same page. There's some messages that go around in that group where you think, well, go to sleep, wake up, and think about what you've done from some of the guys. But it's all in good fun, all in good heart, all in good spirits, and I've loved being part of it. And I sincerely hope that past Hollywoodbets Durbanville that the guys stick around and we can continue the banter. But to answer your question, number 10, Axel Collins would be the one because of his last run to Captain Dizzy, which came a month ago. On that run, Axel Collins finished a length and a half behind Captain Dizzy. And let me just get my notes here. On the 9th of May, he's got a very valuable weight turnaround of 2.5 kilos. That should be more than enough. Obviously, Captain Dizzy won in the interim, getting an extra penalty from the handicapper. Axel Collins is not the neatest mover I've ever seen. He's got a very unique action in the way that he throws his legs all over the place. He dishes during the run. But I think that he'll turn it around with number 1, Captain Dizzy, on that last run. So in a wide open race, 1 and 10, my numbers. Number 10, Axel Collins is the horse that I'm going to put on top, though, in my selections.
Then on to race number 7, 1,450 meters, the penultimate race on the card. How they're betting horses in single figures. Number 2 is at 22 to 10, 3 at 7 to 1, 4 at 8 to 1, 5 is at 5 to 2, and that is it. They just got these runners 2, 3, 4, and 5 all in single figures. You can get double the figures about the balance of the field. Yeah, we spoke about Tony Peters' runner earlier on today. Could this be the double that the stable will be aiming for the afternoon?
It's interesting that she's running in a handicap for the second time on the half vault and probably over a better distance, but I've left her out. I think the draw is going to play against her, and last time she played it tamely over the same distance on the Turfentine inside track. So I have my reservations about number 5, Fur Baby. I think Tony Peters has got better chances throughout the day. I'm keen on number 2. What you waiting for here, Dees? I think that if she goes the trip, that she could be the one that they all need to beat. I think she's come down to a very tasty rating in terms of a 79. Keegan Bamillo takes her right out of a good draw. I don't think that she'll be, ridden positively. I think she'll be given a chance to see out the trip, but she's related to horses who had no issue going this type of distance. So I think number 2, what you're waiting for, could be in the right type of place to strike here. I think that she's probably been running against, a level above, but she seems to stay on okay last time out. She does have a history of making respiratory noises in her races, so that's got to be some concern. She's probably not the most reliable around. And my backup's going to come, funnily enough, from number 7, Dancing Arabian. Now, I know Roy Magner's yard seems to be coming to life, but I think she needed her last run behind Lady Calavera. Interesting that Jared Penny takes the ride and Muzieni has jumped off number 7, Dancing Arabian. He's not taken a ride in the race, which I find quite puzzling. But I think number 7, Dancing Arabian's a horse that's done me favours. I think she's overachieved. In a nutshell, I think she's done a lot better than what she was expected to. And I think her best run put her in the picture. Maybe I'm clutching at straws, but I'm expecting number 7, Dancing Arabian, to get into the first 4, hopefully into the first 3 for the place accumulator. And now that I'm going through this race, maybe I'm a little bit short, so maybe I would need number 5, Fur Baby, in the PA. But it's not a strong race. I think what you're waiting for, being a more untapped 3-year-old trying this trip for only the first time in her life, she'll probably be the one they all need to beat if everything goes according to plan.
A race that spells quartet, and the right roving banker could be a horse in double figures, number 7, Dancing Arabia, and you want to catch that big money, maybe a percentage off, that's the way to play. Find the roughie, rove it with a few other horses, or maybe even the field, and hope for the worst result. Race number 7, that is a quartet and trifecta race. On to the 8th race, 1,450 meters, merit rated 66 handicap. How they betting here, Alistair? Number 1 at 6 to 1, number 3 at 33 to 10, 4 at 5 to 1. Then we go on to a 6 to 1 shot in horse number 7. 8 is at 4 to 1, 9 is at 7 to 1. And that is it. Double figures the balance. I don't know. This race, if you're running in whatever bet you have, I hope you can help the guys to go possibly short here, because it can get very costly.
I've gone 3 horses in the place accumulator, and I'm fairly keen that between those 3 horses, maybe one other will do the job in the pick 6. Number 3, Bomb Bomb, trained by Candice Dawson, ridden by Gavin Lorena. Please believe me, if he didn't win his last start, we would have been crying crocodile tears, because he would have been very, very unlucky. He found some trouble. He didn't travel all that well around the turn. There was a horse, another 2-year-old, an inexperienced 2-year-old, who was taking him on around the turn. He found a great burst of acceleration that I think the passage that he had took its toll right at the end, and it looked like he fell across the line. He's come on at home. He's doing a lot right. He's obviously a very progressive 2-year-old with a lot of improvement to come. I wouldn't be 10 out of 10 confident, but fairly confident that if not winning, he'll go very, very close. So number 3, Bomb Bomb. And also the case with Bomb Bomb is that he needs to get into the Bloodstock South Africa race on Hollywoodbets Durbanville. He's off the log. I can't quite understand how he's off the log, but he's off the log. So a good performance here is necessary and will stand him in good stead. So number 3, Bomb Bomb, should be a horse to be taken very seriously. I think he can win, but if not winning, I think he'll definitely be in the first 3 and go very close. 8, Maboneng is interesting because I've been burnt many times by Maboneng, but the Mello's back on board and he's 1 from 1 on Maboneng. When she won, she fell across the line. She beat Fashionada. And funny enough, Fashionada has got a huge turnaround at the weights with number 8, Maboneng. So on pure handicapping, Fashionada should actually beat number 8, Maboneng. But I think that the Mellow factor will probably stand her in good stead. And also out of trap number 1, I'd like to believe that she'll run a nice race. And then my other horse, Heather Adamson's got 2 interesting runners here, but I much prefer number 1, Gimme the Flame. Although they both went down to Hollywoodbets Greyville on that postponed meeting a couple of Fridays ago, and Speechmaker won her race and Gimme the Flame didn't. I've always held Gimme the Flame in reasonable regard, especially at this type of level. She's obviously much younger than Speechmaker, so she's got a bit more untapped potential, so to speak, whereas Speechmaker's obviously in her place. And I also don't think the turning Hollywoodbets Greyville suited Gimme the Flame, and I think it would have suited Speechmaker a lot more. So I think coming back home, Gimme the Flame might be the first home of the Adamson runners. Complex race, the 2-year-old throws the spanner in the works, but I think Bomb Bomb will run a big race, can win.
I just have to mention this because now that you've refreshed my memory about that sales race on Hollywoodbets Durban July Day, it's been kind to me as an agent. I actually wanted to Delpesh. The horse's name escapes me because Jeff actually phoned me and he said, do my rides on Hollywoodbets Durban July Day, and he won the race for Candace. What was the horse's name, Alice? I forget the horse's name, but he did win the race for Candace.
A son of Laxall bred of the Birch brothers called Given Its Son got sold to the UK subsequently. That was a special moment. It was obviously Jeff's last ride at Greyville at his home course, that was one of the feel-good moments of that Hollywoodbets Durbanville. It was wonderful. Given Its Son was the horse's name.
Yeah, that is it. That was a good payday. That day, Jeff coming down, he ran second behind Do It Again, so it was fine. A nice trip for him. Well, I don't even know how many thirds and seconds and places Jeff has had. I've actually lost count. But that's a wrap, Alistair. Your place accumulator for the meeting?
Okay, so the PA starts in race number 2D. That gets underway at 5-1. I've gone 4 and 11 in the first leg, Lady Felon and Woodland Glade. By bank number 12, We Are the Logans. By 4, 5 and 6, Duke of Sussex and Lamo and Argo Alley. I think race 5, probably the most complex race on the card. I've gone 1, 3 and 6 to Zona, Spin Doctor and Turpits, but there's no way I'll hold that race to 3 in the pick 6. Race 6, leg 5 for the PA, I've gone 1 and 10, so Captain Dizzy and Axel Collins. The penultimate race number 7, 2 and 7. I hope I'm not light there. What You're Waiting For and Dancing Arabian. And the final leg, 1, 3 and 8. Gimme the Flame, Bomb Bomb and Maboneng.
With no degree as to why, this is my last question or my last request. Give me a horse at the Vaal on Thursday into your Hollywoodbets Gold Challenge. Hollywoodbets Gold Challenge winner on Saturday, and then into who's going to win the Champions League.
Who's going to win the Champions League? Okay, I think that's the easiest of all. It's going to be working backwards. Man City, Charles Dickens, We Are the Logans. There's your winning treble for the weekend, and pay Batal.
Okay, thank you, Alistair Cohen. As always, an absolute pleasure from the entire team and Gallop TV, Alistair Cohen and myself, Dees Nanan. Have a successful day. Find all the winners. Hopefully it turns out to be a nice, profitable day for you at Thursday, the 8th of June at the Vaal Classic Track. And until we meet again, you take care. Salani Gashle.